Growth without clarity feels like chaos. It feels like waking up and asking, what am I doing today? And not really knowing why. I know that feeling because I've lived it. And this episode is for the entrepreneur who's busy but not anchored. You have ideas, you consume content, you try strategies, you're working hard, but underneath all of it, there's this quiet overwhelm. And sometimes, if you're honest, procrastination. There were seasons in my business where procrastination was very real. I'd wake up and not know what to focus on, not know what really mattered, not know why I was doing what I was doing. And some days I'd move needles. Some days I would just move in circles. And other days I would do absolutely nothing. Netflix, YouTube videos. I'd go to YouTube and I would search how to stop procrastinating. I'm serious. This is like, I'm trying to be vulnerable in some of these stories. What productivity software should I use? Is anybody guilty of that? The software that's going to make me the most productive and most organized, blah, blah, blah. That was me. I lacked clarity. And I thought something was wrong with me. In hindsight, there was nothing wrong with me. I didn't lack discipline. The clarity wasn't there. So when you don't know where you're going, every action feels optional. Every task feels heavy. Every decision feels overwhelming. Procrastination is often not laziness, it's fog. Most entrepreneurs are not stuck because they don't work hard. They're stuck because they wake up and they stay busy without being clear. Busy responding, busy reacting, busy surviving, but not building intentionally. And when clarity's missing, scaling just multiplies confusion. Even growing multiplies confusion. You don't get growth, you get louder chaos. And so inside my stages framework, the very first stage, the letter S, is set the stage. It's not marketing, it's not ads, it's not sales. Setting the stage is largely to do with vision and largely to do with clarity. In fact, that's the name of my sub-framework inside of Set the Stage. It's clarity, and every letter is mapped out to mean something separate. You're celebrating the wins, you lead with vision, you audit your reality, you redefine your role as an owner, you inventory your time, you design your rhythm, you identify your next who, the next person that's going to help you in your business. Maybe it's a full-time hire, maybe it's a freelancer, maybe it's an agency. But for the sake of this episode, let's zoom in on the most important part, leading with vision. Because you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your clarity. The breakthrough for me was realizing I cannot wake up asking, what am I going to do today? I need to wake up knowing exactly what I am building toward. So I started asking a different question. If I could wave a magic wand, what do I want my business and life to look like 3 years from now? 3 years is powerful. It's far enough to dream, but it's close enough to feel real. And when I articulated that future with specificity, something shifted. Clarity started dissolving the noise. And here's the thinking model that changed everything for me. Once you have those clearly defined future ideals, it's this concept called waterfall planning. And so I'm going to give you some of the steps right now on how that works. Setting the 3-year target. And we're actually going to play it out. If you want to grab a pen and paper, I think you're going to get some value out of this. So step 1, you're setting the 3-year target, but let's start with the business. So what's the big future ideal that feels exciting, yet a little scary? It's scary writing it down. It's scary thinking about it. I think when you're casting vision and it doesn't feel scary at all, you're probably not stretching possibility enough. Real growth exists outside of your comfort zone, taking some kind of risk. If it doesn't feel scary or doesn't kind of move some of the internals, I recommend you stretching a little bit more. So what's the revenue? Who's on my team? What role am I playing? How many events? What areas do we serve? What does my calendar feel like? So think about that for your business. What does all of the areas of your business look and feel like in the future? And the more specificity you could give it, like you don't want it to be too clouds, too fluffy. You want it to be specific, because when you can articulate it with such specificity, it becomes easier to say, how can this specific future become real, right? So like even if it's an event, right? Like let's say your company's doing 30 events and you're like, okay, we want to do 100 events in 3 years. Great. 100 is better than more events, specificity. Okay, so doing the thinking around business, very important. Equal, if not even more important, is what does it look like for you in your personal life? I think growing an events business, growing any business, when you're ignoring some of your personal ideals, you're going to end up in a place where maybe your business is off doing great things, but your personal's neglected. It's not intentional. You're winging your personal life. And so that's why when I started this podcast, what I'm doing, making impact, it's to help people thrive in their business, but also thrive in their personal life. And so here's some of the thinking prompts for your personal goals. Thinking out 3 years from now. What are the priorities around your connections, your family, your significant other? How about your parenting, your relationship with your kids? What does it look like 3 years from now? How about your friends? And how about your relationship with yourself? Also, what about your goals for personal accomplishments? The impact you want to make 3 years from now. The learning, or what do you want to learn in, over the next 3 years? What awards do you want to aim for? How about the community impact? What are you doing in your area? How about your lifestyle and health? What does exercise look like? What does sports, or what is health or travel experiences? Where do you want to live? Who do you spend time with? How about your use of money? What do your investments look like? Savings, different income types. What are you doing to give? Contribution. And then you ask, if I want that in 3 years, what must be true 12 months from now? This is when you start getting into the waterfall thinking. You decide what you want in the 3 years, but then you say, okay, what are my priorities in the next 12 months based on what I've decided 3 years from now, and narrow it down to 12 months. You've got to narrow your thinking and what are the priorities of focus. Then once you have the 12-month clarity target of what it looks like, what must happen in the next 90 days? Fine-tuning your focus even more. If I want the 90-day outcome, so what must happen in the next 30 days? Now, let me just pause a second. This is the best part of this entire thinking is you're forcing your mind to think in different ranges, but you start to get more and more clear because it's like 3 years, great. Well, what do I want in the next year for that 3 year to be more likely? You're deciding, and then you're stopping the thought around the 3 year, and it's only 12 months. 12 months is the only thing you need to focus on. Then you say, what do I want to do in the next 90 days to make that 12-month goal more possible? And so you're waterfalling down. What are my priorities for the quarter for my 12-month goals to be real? Then you ignore all your 12-month goals and you say, in my quarter, what must happen in the next 30 days? Once you clearly articulate what I want to do in the next 30 days, you don't have to think about your quarter anymore. Does that not excite you the way it excites me? You're literally removing all this overwhelm of what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and you're distilling it down to a more focused level of thinking. And so based on your clarity for the month, what is the clarity for the week? And then based on the weekly, what are you going to do today? Now today has meaning. Now today has direction. Now today is completely aligned. You're no longer thinking about everything. You're thinking about the next lever, the most important priorities and areas of focus. This is the power of clarity. When clarity increases, procrastination decreases. Because now you're not asking, what should I do? You're asking what moves the 90-day needle, and you eliminate everything else. Clarity is focus. Focus is peace, and peace is momentum. And now here's something important. Clarity doesn't mean certainty. You may not know exactly how the goal is going to happen, but you decide that it will. And that's where last episode's SFT from the book Greatness by David Cook comes in. You see the future, feeling you have what it takes inside of you, that you will figure it out, and trusting that you're guided and the result will take place. You don't need certainty of path. You need clarity of direction. It's an important distinction. I want to emphasize something deeply personal here. There was a time in my life where I was overwhelmed, discouraged, and I was down on myself. Not because I wasn't capable, but because I didn't have a clear and compelling future. When I invested in learning from the masters, when I got around bigger thinkers, I wanted to model their success. When I started defining my future with intention, everything changed. I stopped living on autopilot. I started building on purpose. And it feels so much better waking up knowing I know what I'm building. I know why I'm building it. And I know what matters this week. So here's practical application. If you didn't write it down, grab a pen and paper. Here's what you want to do. Number 1, write your 3-year vision. Specific, detailed, emotional. Feel it. Number 2, define what must be true 12 months from now. Like I said earlier, deciding based on your 3 years, what is the 12-month priority? From the 12 months, number 3, define your next 90-day focus. Number 4, choose one major priority for the next 30 days. And then number 5, decide what matters this week. And ignore the rest. You're not responsible for everything. You're responsible for clarity. So here's a question to reflect on. What am I building toward or avoiding defining? Because sometimes we stay busy so we don't have to decide. But decision creates direction, and direction creates confidence. So clarity, it's not sexy. It doesn't feel like growth, but it is the foundation of growth. Before brand, before ads, before traffic, before delegation, before scale. Clarity, it's your North Star. It's what gets you up every day with excitement. And that excitement is in line with your exciting and compelling future.